Okay, folks, back again with some more Sherman action. And let's finish up these three Shermans that we have going on here. Let me get all the pieces, parts from them. No need to bring the useless instructions. The instructions actually do not represent the model Sherman that's included in there. Like I said yesterday, it's probably one of the earlier versions. But I did find out a little bit about which version of the Sherman this one is. And apparently this is the early version of the M4A1 wet stowage 76 millimeter gun Sherman. And the reason why it's the earlier one, it has the split loader's hatch. And one of the things I was reading about it is there was a problem with it in that when it split, the design of it would not let it go more than vertical. So in other words, if you are sitting in this turret hatch like this and you're the loader, the sides of the hatch are straight up. They don't fold back down. So I could see that being an unfun part of it. So we're going to leave the commander's hatch open on this one, but we're going to leave the loader's hatch closed because this figure, for instance, wouldn't be able to work because the hatch is going to be directly vertical like that. So one of these has those spare parts, and it's this one right here. I'm not going to get the cutter out there for that. There's that. Here's the split hatch. Whole machine gun. We're going to need that. Whole machine gun, the split hatch, which is over here. And we got some spare track pieces here. We got an idler wheel replacement is what it looks like, or maybe a road wheel replacement. One jerry can. These sand shields, which didn't seem to be used in Normandy at all. But again, this has some pieces that are common to the M4A1 that would have been used at like Alamein. So, we're going to cut this down. Yeah, what happened is apparently this split hatch, from what I understand it, was the original Sherman, when it was first built. I don't have one handy here. Had a single hatch for the commander, and it was split, and it had no other hatches in the top of the turret. And that's apparently what the design is for this loader's one. So the commander's got a new one that has all of these periscopes on it. It's kind of a nice modern one, and this one went to the loader one, which was the original hatch from the first version of the Sherman. And there were some problems with this hatch not being able to flap completely open. It stayed just vertical. So imagine you're coming out of a hatch and that's it. You're going to have the two sides of the hatch here next to you, so it's kind of in your way. It ended up getting replaced later on with an oval hatch that just flipped open. So this is the earliest version of this vehicle. I don't know exactly when the switch came, but that's what I read about it. It's a little hard to find some of these details out. I also didn't spend a tremendous amount of time on it, but the instructions for this are just poor, you know, which isn't a problem for me because I'm like, okay, well, if I can't find the answer, I'm going to look somewhere else. And then this is the commander's hatch, which I planned on leaving open with the commander in it. But it looks like it's going to be weird because the detail's not, there's like no detail on the inside of it. But I'm still going to glue it that way. Now, I can just paint, like there's most of the inside of the hatches have some kind of a pad or something like that so you don't bang your head into it when you're going against bumpy ground. Almost all the vehicles have that, even the Russian ones. So probably one of those type things as well. Hull mounted machine gun. And we're going to roll right into the Stewarts and build those three cute guys up. As we were talking about yesterday, probably the best light tank of the Second World War, if we discount the Chaffee, which honestly the Chaffee shouldn't be a light tank. It's got a 75 millimeter gun. I mean, that's medium tank stuff. Yeah, this is going to need to be open like this. I'm going to have to wait for this to soften a little bit. It's kind of, what did it? It fell inside of me. And this guy's got to be able to fit in there. Make sure he fits in there before. We get carried away. You know, I'm actually going to make this one closed. I don't feel really comfortable with that, looking that way. Most of the time in a skirmish game, you're gonna be buttoned up anyways. You could get taken out by a pistol. Okay, we got some 50 cal machine guns to do. Here's the mount for them. Here's one, and here's the 50. Okay. It's like I'm looking for the box of the ammo, but they went ahead and connected the box of ammo to the bottom of it, to this mount. So that's nice of them. Okay. And the mount. Okay. We should have 3 of these mounts, 350s. Here's one. Here's the other one. All right. So this is going to fit like that. And then this is going to fit like that. Now, I want to make sure that I've got it coming out of the correct side. So it looks like it's coming from the left-hand side. So this would be correct for this. And there are some versions of these that have the mount up here, not all the way in the back. I'm going to leave these as is. I'm not going to be so anal retentive on these that I'm fine with however they did them. Now all these tend to droop towards the barrel end. Hey Nordic, what's up, man? Let's, well, it's a lot easier to surf on my phone. I guess nobody's complained about not having a second camera on here. That's good because I have the ability to search on here a lot easier. And I can show you guys stuff instead of trying to move it over to... Uh-oh, what's this? Okay. I'm going to look at a M4A1 76W and see if there are some images with a 50 caliber. See how... Okay, well that's from a video game. It's just standing straight up. Standing straight out. Okay, so... And maybe we'll just do a mix of them. Okay, well I kind of like this one drooping like that a little bit. So we'll make this one droopy. Okay. This other one, I don't mind it like that. Let's leave it like that. Path of least resistance. And this one, we'll just have it straight out. Okay, I think that's it. That's everything on these guys. I mean, they're going to have extra armor and stuff like that, but I'm not going to get bogged down with that right this moment. Mr. Dirk. Check to say hello. No sound at the moment, but just to say Happy New Year. Yes, a day ahead. You got one less day of the weekend where you're at. Okay, so these Shermans are complete for the most part, other than adding individualized stuff to them. Okay, so next step, let's go grab us a Stewart sprue, and hopefully the instructions are better. Okay, so according to the box on the back of these guys right here, according to the box, it says 3 M5A1 Stewart tanks. Each sprue contains options to build either an early, mid, or late production variant, all M5A1s, and has a US and British commander figures and a Cullen hedge cutter. And if you look at the instructions here, apparently the early one is the green parts, the blue one is the mid-production one, and the late one is here. The late one is the only one it's got that shows with the Cullen on here. So oh, interesting. If assembling a commander figure, split the hatches into 2 halves with a modeling knife. Okay, so it doesn't give it to you already open. No big deal. Okay, so let's find out about this tank. Okay, because I know that I was surprised that the M5s actually were in North Africa. I thought the M5s never made it to North Africa, but they did. M5A1s may not have. So, what are you building? A custom table or terrain for the game? I don't know yet. Probably something that's modifiable. Not custom terrain. It just takes up too much space to store it. Okay, so let's look at M5A1 and read about the M5A1. I don't have a book on the Stewart. I know, shame on me. M5A1 Stewart. Okay, that's not a very useful article. Tank Encyclopedia is not a bad site. There's usually a lot of useful information on there. This is about the M3, the M5. I want to know about the M5A1. Okay. The name was changed M5 in February when the production was approved and started at the Cadillac division of the GMC plant in Detroit on April 30th, 1942. The run ended in December of the same year. So basically they made M5s through the end of 1942. when an improved model succeeded at the M5A1. So all three versions of these are M5A1s. Others were built starting in August at the Southgate, California plant, 354 tanks, and Massey Harris Company, 250. These were mostly exported. The grand total was 2,075 tanks. Okay, I want to know what the difference is between the M5A1. This was the second production of the M5. Can be distinguished by the extended M3A3 turret model. Yeah, it's more of a square turret, as you can see here, than the M3s. The turret itself helps distinguish between the early and the later models. As on the early models, there were still pistol ports on the sidewalls. The extra bustle provided room for more powerful SCR 508 radio and antenna mounted at the extreme rear. Okay, so... Okay, these two, the early and the mid, share the turret. The turret for the late one is different, and it has like this area that's, it almost looks like a downspout or something like that, but I believe that that's an extra area so that if you're firing the 30 caliber from behind the turret, it provides you some protection. I had one of these in Tamiya in 1/35th scale. Another one of those I didn't finish. I think I was making it British. You got a winter advisory. Snow is coming. Have fun shoveling. To avoid interference, the 30 caliber had to be shifted. Addition large protective sand skirts on the upper tracks, which were used by some early models in their integral form. 2 mudguards, upper side skirt, lower side skirt fastened to the bogie leg hooks. In practice, the latter was dropped most of the time, and many M5A1s were seen lacking the rear mudguard. More rarely the front one, as often the whole kit was dismounted and is clogged and could not be torn out. On 24th of September 1942, the new tank standardized the M5A1 was designated to replace the M5 at the Cadillac plant in Detroit. Production only started in November, 1,196 tanks. December for the Southgate plant, California, and Massey Harris, 3530. In the meantime, American Cars and Foundry was brought into the program in October 43, producing 1,000 more. In all, 6,810 M5A1s were delivered, the last by Massey Harris in June of 1944. Okay, so apparently these were produced through June 44. So it's more than likely by the time Normandy was around, they all could have been the late production one. Because that would have been the latest version of it. 3 times more M5A1s were built compared to the M5. However, American Cars and Foundry remanufactured early M5A1s to incorporate the later version features like the rear stowage basket between November 44 and June 45. It doesn't say anything about it. It doesn't say anything about it. Well, here's what we're going to do. We know we're going to have at least one of them that's the late production, so let's build a late production one. Sherman Firefly, a Sherman 76, and a Stuart Honey. Okay. Let's build one of these as a late. All right. That'll give us an idea how many pieces are left. Okay, so we need the red hull, which is, God, they're not that much different. This one has a bunch of tools up here. It's got a shovel here. These hashes are the same. They're not that different. All right, we're going to use this hole right here. This is the latest version of the M5A1, according to this. Okay, and then we need to use the ones that have the skirts on them. Okay. It has this item here. This is the red one. It has this turret side, and here is the piece that goes to protect the firer. And it has this device up here as well. Okay, we definitely need all of those red pieces. And I'm sure there's probably going to be some common ones as well. All right, so let's trim this thing up. Believe it or not, it is freezing in this house. It's like 63 degrees, but I don't know. It is just super penetrating. It's not a complaint, it's just an observation. This house is a lot colder than the other one. It maintains it's a more modern house, and it's insulated better. I'm actually colder right now than I was at any time in Canada. My feet are freezing. But it's better than my feet being hot. Let's take most of the big stuff off of this. We're supposed to have rain all day tomorrow. So I'll just stay indoors. Screw you, Mother Nature. All right. So it doesn't tell you this, okay? It doesn't tell you these things. But these are specific pieces here that are to this model, the red ones. But then there's other things. These gray ones are common to most of the other ones, but not always. Like, for instance, this is this part of the turret. It goes with the other part of the turret that's here, but it doesn't tell you, hey, don't use that one with a red one. You just kind of have to figure it out. You know, you have to kind of grow a brain, figure it out. So, I do love their kits. Their instructions, like I said, they're not always as clear as they could be. So we're going to grab the other part of the turret, which is common to all of them. Okay. You're making you my third officer on my sub. I just lost my executive to promotion and bumped up to the... What? Well, if I was going to be in the Navy, I wouldn't want to be under the water. That's a bit claustrophobic. Okay. All right, and it's going to have a back to the turret, which it doesn't tell me which one to do, so it must be the common one, which is this one right here. And what else does this thing need? It's got a funky piece there. Well, we're going to need the cannon. What good's a tank without a cannon? Okay. And the front of the turret is common to all of them. Okay. And this piece, which is the top of the turret, which is common to all of them. Okay. We'll trim those pieces up and then we can assemble the turret. Oh, you're playing Silent Victory from GMT. Solitaire submarine game in the Pacific to help when the narrative give my crew names. You know, when I think of submarines and a world war, nothing but the Germans comes to mind. And I'm not saying, and I know that the U.S. submarines sank a shit ton of Japanese stuff. I mean, an unholy shit ton. For multiple reasons. You know, the Japanese had a huge area they had to cover stuff. Their stuff like sonar and stuff like that was frowned upon. It wasn't like, you know, you didn't have their best men. You know, they wanted to do offensive shit, not, you know, candy ass stuff, you know, running a sonar. And that wasn't definitely the strong suit of the Imperial Japanese Navy, whereas night fighting was. Or at least early in the war, they were definitely ahead of anybody else doing night fighting. The British weren't too bad at it. The British pulled quite a few ha-has on the Italian Navy and punched way above their weight category. They had a bunch of ships that were really small that did a disproportionate amount of damage. But convoy protection, anti-submarine stuff is not the forte of the Japanese. The Japanese use their submarines totally different. The Japanese, you know, the U.S. generally used their submarines like the Germans did. They used them offensively and stuff like that. The Japanese used them basically for fleet spotting. Yeah, but I think of subs, you think of the Germans in both World Wars. Now, the British had a fair amount of submarines. And you don't hear much about them. I mean, they used them even to supply Malta. I don't think you carry that many supplies on a submarine, but it's better than nothing. But the American submarines were significantly bigger as a general rule than the German ones. The German ones could dive deeper, but the American submarines were some of the biggest ones in the world, if I remember correctly. You know, we're not talking about the huge monstrosities that the Japanese did that had a freaking float plane that flew out of them and shit like that. Okay, those are monsters. But as a general rule, you know, something like a Gato class U.S. sub is definitely bigger than like a Type 7 or a Type 9 U-boat. And the American ones, I think, are faster too. And, you know, probably longer range. You got to be longer range. You got to go across the Pacific. I had the Hunters and the Hunted, which is the Kriegsmarine U-boats, but you're playing Silent Victory. Yeah, which one came out first? They have an Italian one too, if I remember correctly. I'd love to play those. I just don't want to learn how to play the game. You know, it's not that I don't want to learn how to play a game. I don't want to, like, have fun playing the game and then realize I fucked up and did it wrong. So it doesn't really count. That's all, you know. That's why I like that kind of stuff on computer. You can't fuck up, you know. You can't. You can make bad decisions, but you can't, like, run the game incorrectly. So, I've heard good things. Actually, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about those kind of games. You know. I don't mind those solitaire games as long as somebody's along with me to, you know, when something really interesting happens, there's somebody there to show, oh man, I can't believe that just happened. If I'm just like playing it by myself, it's just like, you know, it's just not enough fun for me. Okay, so which way's up and which one's down? See, it doesn't show you. Oh, here's part of the rear. Is this further towards the top or further towards the bottom? It looks like it's like this. If this is assembled correctly, it goes like this. Let's check for fit. Fits pretty good. Okay, we can go ahead and assemble these little parts together. I'm going to, now let's stick with this. Let's stick with this. Now let's switch to the other glue. Is this got a thinner brush on it? I got one of these that I bought in bulk and actually has a bad brush on it. This is the one that has the good brush on it. I mean, it is just an incredible tip. See, where can I put it where you guys can even... Well, you just gotta trust me. It's super fine tip on this thing. The Hunters came out first. System is absurdly simple to learn. I rate this series as probably my favorite game series. I had one of those oh shit moments when I kept encountering the same Japanese warship throughout the war, and I hit at least 8 times but did not sink it. Bad torpedoes. The last encounter, my sub sunk the ship, and the ship escorts got my sub. There you go. Dun, da, da, dun. Yeah, it probably plays like Patton's Best, I would imagine. They got a U-boat simulator or something like that. I think it's called, I don't know, it might even be called Das Boot. Ooh, you know, and it's the same thing, you manage a crew, but it's one of those games they released that isn't finished. During the 8 years that my computer crapped out on me, my home computer crapped out on me, and I didn't buy any games, there's a little thing that took off that wasn't really much of a thing before, and that's Steam. And I wasn't really familiar with Steam when my computer died, but there's a phenomenon that it allows that wasn't really available before. I don't think it was. And that is they release these games for a discounted price, but they're not finished. The problem with them is when they do finish them, you don't really want to play it because you've already played other versions of the game. At least I do, and you know I don't want to play it. And then you know you never get a chance to play the game if it's fully finished, assuming they finish it. So you know I've actually done that on what's that Squad Leader ripoff game that I have? Lock and Load. You know, the Lock and Load I think is actually a pretty good system, and it's a nice looking game on computer. But it's you know the multiplayer on it I think is still not working correctly. Or the last time I tried it, it wasn't. Which is funny because it's shouldn't be that difficult to get it working correctly compared to other games, but for whatever reason, it's I got it a couple years ago and it's still, you know, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, but it's unfinished, and that just wasn't a thing back when my computer crapped out. It was almost kind of like a GoFundMe, right? Like here's a game that you can get a taste of how what it may look like, but we're not done with it yet. And you know, I don't know that I've ever been comfortable with that, but oh, this can go both ways. Well, we better see which way it goes. Okay, the coax is on the passenger side. If it were a car. Yeah, torpedoes for the USS game suck for the first year. Dud has been a 1d6, 1 to 4. And it's, yeah. When I was playing Sea Creek 4, 60% chance. If it's a magnetic detonator, it's like a 60% chance of dud. Early German magnetic ones are bad too. But the German ones get better before the American ones do. American torpedoes don't get reliable until like 44. Okay, so we're going to do a turret top. Where's the commander for this thing? Here's the turret hatch. He's such a cute little light tank. And like we were talking about yesterday, I think it's the best light tank of the Second World War. You know, if you skip the Chafee, which really shouldn't be a light tank. It's armed with a 75 millimeter gun, and it's got less armor than a Sherman, but not that much less. All right, we're going to make this one with the hatch closed. Okay. It's a two-man turret anyways. Don't remember if the commander is the loader or the gunner. Okay. And this little protective thing fits over like this, and the 30 cal goes inside of it. I agree that Stuart Honey is the best light tank, but the question is, is it the best looking light tank? Well, it's cute. I said my gripe with American vehicles is their running gear is normally not very attractive, in my opinion. It was very effective because you could take certain parts off and replace it without having to take the whole thing out. But as far as it looks, I don't think it's. I much prefer some kind of torsion type thing. A T-50, which just basically looks like a mini T-34, is a really attractive tank. But it's it's not, Russian ergonomics versus American ergonomics. That's not even the competition. The Americans and the Germans, as a general rule, have the best ergonomics of their vehicles. Okay, here's the 30 cal machine gun. And some British tanks have pretty good ergonomics as well. French tanks, terrible ergonomics. Russian tanks, as a general rule, bad ergonomics. Italians, let's not even go there. Japanese, that's even worse. Okay, this can be glued in here. this is the protective baffle for you to fire it from behind. Okay. Now, is there only one bottom hole? There is. There's only one. Okay. Cut this out. I think a BT7 is a really good looking light tank. You know, the one with the more aerodynamic turret. A T50 is a good looking tank. I don't really mind how a Panzer IV like F looks, but that 20 millimeter whatever gun is a piece is just, that's no good compared to this 37. You like the Vickers Mark IV? Boy, that's a bouncy ass ride. Mark VI. Yeah, I know what you meant. Yeah. That's a bouncy ass ride. Whoa! You're definitely spilling your tea all over yourself in that thing. Hoggos are cute. They're a piece of shit, but they're cute. Cute doesn't win wars, but it sure makes you want to build a model. The Italian L6s aren't a bad looking tank. You know, do you consider a Czech 38 a light tank? I don't. Because it was the main battle tank when it came out. I mean, you know, I'd be a light tank by 1942 standards, but I don't consider it a light tank. That was a pretty good light. If you consider that a light tank, that was a pretty good light tank. The original Czech design was a one-man turret. The Germans turned it into a two-man turret. Didn't know that. Okay. This little guy goes like this. Mr. Justin, welcome back. You love the Japanese camouflage pattern on their tanks. Yeah, they're kind of cool. BT7, yeah, BT7 looks good. Let's see. Consider the 38 to be in the light tank family, but a distant relative. I like the riveted look of it as well. I do too. Makes it look fuzzy. Yeah, I like those Mark 6s. I don't think they're... I mean, they are kind of ugly, but they're, you know, attractive. I don't know. There's something about them. They look pretty good. Better than a T-26. I think T-26s are ugly. I think Panzer Is are really unattractive. Okay, that's the front plate, and there's a whole machine gun in here somewhere. Ooh, a little guy. Thank goodness it's Friday. A 2-day week for me. Whew. What about the Fuller 72P? I think they're pretty attractive. Actually, they have a pretty cool camouflage too. What about a Tetrarch? They're kind of attractive. I think the Tetrarchs are kind of attractive. If that's how you say them, Tetrarch. You know which ones I'm talking about. I don't like locusts. I think locusts are really unattractive. M22s. Those Italian tankettes are ugly as shit. Tankette. That just sounds like something that gets its ass kicked in a war. Death by tankette. The rear plate for this thing looks like it's common to all of them. You like the Tetroid? Yeah, it's a good looking vehicle. Locust is ugly though. Like British armored cars, a lot of them are extremely attractive. Daimlers look great. The Humbers look great. You start getting into Staghounds, and they just have an ugly ass turret on them. But Humbers look good. I don't care whether it's got a Beza machine gun. You got a big bezel, like a 15 millimeter one or something like that. That's a good looking vehicle. A really good looking vehicle. It's almost as attractive as a Puma. Oh, man. Well, this is a problem. So, look at the back of this Stewart. I don't know if you can see this. It's got the tow hooks on them, right? Which are basically clevises that hang down when they're not in use due to gravity. Here they're hanging up. Italian Semovente, ugly as shit. Not a fan. Now, some of the Italian trucks are pretty cool looking, but I'm not a fan of the Semovente. Yeah, the M1340s don't look bad. The L6s are really attractive. Their armored cars don't look bad. You know, the AB41s, not a bad looking vehicle. The Semoventes are just ugly. And they're even uglier because they have a short freaking turret, a short freaking barrel gun. That would bug me on a model kit. I'd clip them off and replace them. Yeah, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see that. It's just driving really, really fast and you just happen to flap up at that time. You know, I really like Plastic Soldier Company, but I don't care what manufacturer is. There's going to be, you know, shortcomings. You know, after you've built a few models in your life, you just tend to not trust directions. Like, let me see about what these people are talking about. I'm not so sure about this. Okay, we'll glue this ornery bastard right here. And the big old tow hook, which is heavy freaking duty. I think I'm going to put the Cullen cutters on all of them. I've never built a vehicle with the Cullen cutters. You know, the hedgerow uprooters. What about the Renault R3540 Hotchkiss H39 and the FCM 36? I'm not really familiar with the FCM 36. If I remember correctly, the Renaults are a little faster, and the Hotchkisses have better armor, if I remember correctly, but they're cousins. If I'm playing World of Tanks or whatever, the one I like is that AMX 40. That little looks like a freaking duck. That is just damn near impenetrable. That thing is a beast. I don't really have an opinion on those. I don't think they're attractive. They're not the ugliest thing out there. They have motifs with like playing cards and stuff like that. So, and hearts and stuff like that. So, I don't mind that. I think stats wise, an S-35 is a pretty good vehicle. I know it's not a light tank, but I just can't get over a one-man turret. That's just like mass retardation, you know? Martyr tanks? Oh, yeah, Panzerjägers. The modern martyr. I don't know if they still. I don't know if the Bundeswehr still uses the modern martyr, but the modern martyr I think is actually a very attractive vehicle. Their APC. They may not even use it anymore. You know. Let's see how this thing goes together. Ooh, delightful. I'm not a fan of the Martyr M's. I don't like how they look with everything on the back end of them. That doesn't mean I won't build one. But I'm not a fan of how they look. The M's. Oh, you're supposed to fit in there, and you don't fit in there. Why don't you fit in there? Well, because this little nugget is either flash or it shouldn't be on there. Now I bet you'll fit in there now. Yep, that's what it took. So if this one has that little piece, and it does, let's take it off before we even attempt to put it on there. Speaking of modern vehicles, I always thought the modern Luke's armored car was cool looking. Probably don't use that thing either. I always thought that was a really attractive vehicle. Of course, one of my favorite modern vehicles is the Chieftain. I think the Chieftain is just a really attractive tank. But we're not going to be doing any modern gaming. I just figured I'd mention that. Okay, this little booger's done. Cute little bastard. Alright, where's the Shermie? God, this turret looks magnanimous in comparison. Cute little thing. Okay, oh, a hedgerow cutter. It doesn't even tell you to install, it just shows up with one. Oh, we're going to put a hedgerow cutter on this, because these guys are for Normandy. came really close to buying the honey set for this, but I didn't because I didn't want to go down the rabbit hole of doing desert stuff. Because ultimately, I don't have any desert infantry other than the old plastic figures. Okay, so this is the top part, and it fits underneath like this. Does it get a good purchase on it? I guess so. I'm gonna glue that instead of the other way around. You like the Israeli Merkava tank? I never have. I like Super Shermans though, with a 105 in them. Been considering doing more modern era tanks at some point. Think I'll start with the Merkava. I don't like it, but that's okay. I mean, it's not unattractive. It just doesn't appeal to me, you know. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take a look and see if there's pictures of a Normandy period M5 that does not have the skirts on it. Because I could see totally building another one that's just like that, except doesn't have the skirts on it. That way it's just slightly bit different. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do images. Okay, and here's an M5A1. It does not have the skirts. And it does have the Cullen thing on there. So that's the next one I'm going to do. I'm going to build one of these without the skirts. So we're going to set this aside. Not really into modern era planes and tanks from a model building standpoint for some reason. Gravitate towards World War I, World War II stuff. World War I planes are difficult because they're damn near all ugly except a few German planes, in my opinion. Maybe a Newport 17 is not too bad looking, but Spads, Sopwith Camels, they're all ugly. Only the albatrosses are attractive, in my opinion. That doesn't mean I won't build the other ones. I'm just saying. Oh, even this mid-production one has the sand skirts on it. No. Okay, so let's take my life into my own hands. Ooh. All right. We're going to do this late haul, the red one, but we're going to put the running gear that does not have the skirts on it. Are there any reason I shouldn't do that? Looks the same to me. All right, here is one without skirts. shit, I could easily buy 2 more packs of these and make all kinds of different variants to them. I like these little tanks. Okay. And then let's use that late top, which is the red one. It's this one again. Oh, I see. I see. This one has fenders. This one has different fenders. All right, so let's see. How is this going to look if I put, let's do the whole, we'll do a test fit on this. Something about World War One tanks particularly like. I don't know why. I do love the look of biplanes as well. Not sure why. World War One tank, man, I think they're all ugly except the Renault 17. That's the only one that's, oh, cutting the wrong thing out. Just not a fan of them. So this is going to go like this. This is going to go like this. Let's trim this out. Is there that many people that make World War One tanks? I mean, what do you got? You got a Mark IV, right? Male and female. You got that Saint Germain or whatever that huge Saint Chamon or whatever that huge monster is. Okay, that's actually kind of a cool looking tank with a gun right at the front. You got the A7, which they didn't make very many of them. They came in like really, really late. And it just looks like an ugly box with an iron cross on it. FT-17s. And they got that whippet, right? And that's it. Okay, so this goes like this. So let me take a look at this and see. And I opted to not get the decals. I'm going to paint the markings on them, on the Stewarts myself. You know, again, it's like, okay, you get a good deal on tanks. The decals cost another $13. I'm like, okay, at some point, it's like, you got to stop throwing money at the problem, you know? All right, I'm going to go ahead and not use this hull. I'm going to use the early one. Okay, the early one is this one on this particular vehicle. TechHong is a nice kit. So what are TechHong kits? Are they as good as trumpeters? Are they better than trumpeters? Isn't Meng the company that makes all those oversized cartoonish vehicles? You know, the 234 with the oversized turret and almost looks like Fat Man anime or something like that. I thought that's all they did. I guess I'm wrong. There's a guy at Historicon that was making 3D printed figures that went with those tanks. So it looked like really cartoonish. Not really my thing, but, you know, that was kind of interesting. I still wish I could find the picture that I took of this game that this guy had put on an old 80s style G.I. Joe game, and he 3D printed everything in 28 millimeter. And it was well painted. It's really, I was really cool. Mitch and I got a freaking laugh out of that big time. Bring back memories of us watching cartoons in the 80s. nostalgia. Oh, they're better than Trumpeter. Okay. The only gripe I have with Trumpeter is that a lot of their hatches aren't closed or come closed. Which is, there's shittier kits that have the option to make them open. I'm fine if they don't give you any crew figures, but you got to make it so the hatches are open, dude. But the couple Trumpeters I built, I was really surprised how good they were. But S model's Chinese too, and the S model stuff's really good as well. So the Chinese can make good stuff if they want to. J. Joe Miniatures like Warhammer be sweet. Dude, it was amazing. I got a scour. I've got the picture somewhere. I got a scour on my Facebook. I uploaded it when it happened. It was before COVID. I think it was a year before COVID. It was impressive. It was really impressive. And he had, if you ever had the toys way back when, they came, you cut out the back of them, and there was a cardboard thing, almost like a file box, a file card type thing with the information of the, where the guy was born, all the fluff bullshit, right? Well, the guy had made the stats for the game also like on those little things. So it was all, the guy put a lot of thought into it. I was really, really impressed. He had his tanks and the dreadnoughts and all kinds of shit. Shit I haven't talked about since I was 14. All right, there's that. We'll need a 30 cal as well. There's one of them. There's one of this series that I watched with my daughter. I think it was called Renegades, and it was done in a more modern way, because those old cartoons from the 80s, I mean, I watched them when I was a kid, and I don't have a whole lot of nostalgia for things that look like shit, and they kind of look like shit, just the way the art is. It's just, I'm not a fan of it. So I'm not one of those people that's going to buy that's going to go retro gaming. I'm going to play with an Atari 2600. I've already done that, okay? I don't need to go back and play that shit. I remember when my daughter was the age and Minecraft had come out, and I'm like, why would I play this? This is like the graphics that we had in 1995. I don't want to play that shit no more. Okay, we will do the earlier turret on this one. Favorite cartoons, 80s, still have some of the toys kicking around somewhere. My brother kept all the ones that we had. We had a bunch. There's a guy that I knew that was getting rid of all of his, and I ended up buying them from him, and I think we had everything through like 1986. Then after that, things just kind of dwindled. Rattler. That A10 looking thing. Man, stuff that you haven't talked about in freaking 30 years. All right, let's build this little turret on here. I mean, that's an attractive vehicle. It's a cute little bastard. Look at this guy. That's an attractive vehicle. And compact, too. You like Transformers more than G.I. Joe, though, didn't you? Nordic. There's a video game that I have. I don't remember what it's called. Oh, I don't remember what it is. It's, Transformers Devastation, I think is what it's called. And it's all done like the 80s art. It's all cell animated. It's pretty freaking cool because it's done that way. It's not a very good game. It's somewhat linear, but it's funny because it's done just like the old art from 1984. It's funny that both of those two series, of course, they were both Hasbro. I don't know if the same artists work on both, but they both had characters that were basically unsubordinate minions that wanted to take over. So, if you're talking about G.I. Joe, you had what? Destro that wanted to take over Cobra. He had this alternative motive. But then they kept him around. It's like, either the leader's stupid and doesn't know what you're doing, or he just figures he's going to keep you around so he can keep you on a short noose. And Transformers did the same thing. Megatron kept Starscream around. And Shockwave, right? Shockwave wanted to take over. Right? What I didn't like is those things that, they were a huge robot. They were some of the biggest ones, but then they turned into like a pistol. That's like, they like shrank themselves. At least the new iteration of Megatron, he turns himself into a tank or something like that. But the one in the 80s, he was a P-38. He was a P-38, but then he was like, one of the biggest. He was one of the biggest robots. Almost called him a mech. Well, technically. Honey, I Shrunk the Robot. Yeah, they always kept these unsubordinate guys that could try to one up them. They're just waiting for their turn to take over the organization. Clip all these little things on here. Ah, yes, the background noise. Let me take this opportunity to go grab a soda. Be right back. Okay. All right. Where'd he go? I'm right here. It's just a 30-second delay or so. Okay. Let's put this turret together. Which should be these two halves. I like how you type that in Japanese. Where'd he go? This doesn't want to fit all the way in. I wonder if that peg's too long. Let's take some of it off. There we go. All right, that did it. Let's put the rear on. Somehow I got on some Facebook group that's like for one of those retro TV shows or whatever, and they were arguing about G.I. Joe shit. Like, who outranked who and how it was unfair. And I was like, come on, man, you're arguing about fucking cartoon. People argue about everything, you know? Who their favorite character was. It's a kid's show, for God's sakes. But I don't have a whole lot of love for the original ones. They made a Transformers one that came out. My daughter was around 7 or so, and we watched it together. It was called Transformers Prime, and it looked good. It looked pretty good. Unfortunately, they always have some stupid element of the humans. I don't watch that shit for the humans. You know, they just get in the way. They're just cannon fodder. So that one wasn't bad, and the G.I. Joe Renegades wasn't bad. I watched both of those with my daughter, but I wouldn't watch that on my own. It's like there's nobody to, you know. I'd rather watch real stuff. But it did bring back some memories. But the way the art's done on both of those are pretty nice. I like the style it's done in. All right, Stewie. But the movies are pretty trashy. I guess the first Transformers movie is all right. Then it just goes sideways. This last one, you know, they lost me when they got. What do you have a big robot chewing on a metal cigar? Like, come on. Stupid. Or a toaster that cusses. Cussing toaster. Okay, so this one sits up here just like that. I'm going to make this one with the one shut. The next one is going to have a modern turret, and I'll make that one with a guy in it. The Hellspawn cartoons are the same way. I'm not sure what there's a name of cartoons called Hellspawn. I haven't heard of those. But I'm not really a fan of, animation for adults. I do like playing video games that look like animation. So I am a fan of Borderlands. I am a fan of... There's this one game a long time ago. I think they made it for the original Xbox. They may have made it for PlayStation as well. And it was called 13. It's called XIII. And, if I looked at it now, it would probably look extremely primitive. But the premise of this game is it's like a Manchurian Candidate type thing, if I remember Manchurian Candidate correctly. You basically have this guy who, you went and did an assassination. And you don't remember what the hell happened. You have to try to figure out what it is. But it's a first-person shooter, and it's all done in cell animation. I never did finish it, but I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a pretty cool game. So I do like cell animated stuff in games. I think it lends itself very well to that. So even though my brother's always on to me, oh, you need to watch South Park. You need to watch South Park. I just can't watch it. It's just too basic looking. I can draw better in my sleep. And so, that's the point. It's like, okay, well, that's the Picasso principle. You could do a better job, but you choose not to. Fuck you, Picasso. Do as good a job as you can with stuff, or don't bother doing it. I still like video games. I do. Well, it depends on which ones. I mean, I don't like that many of them, which is good. They don't take up for this, but you're like, man, I feel like killing something. But you go out and kill something for a while. But I can't sit there and do it for more than like an hour. It just gets tired. And there's a lot of games that I just don't really care for. I don't like games that involve a lot of jumping. I don't like games that involve a lot of boss fights. That are very linear. So I am really particular about what it is that I do. But I've played stuff like World of Tanks, but spend no money on it. It's just something to just kind of pass the time. There's just way too many video games out there that just have a plot, or the delivery of them just isn't what appeals to me. But it don't take the place of this, because it doesn't do anything for creativity. All right, let's look at the back of this thing. The back of this guy, this is the green one. So this one's going to use this piece here. And this little piece here. But as far as time wasting goes, I think video games are a better time waster than just watching television. Because at least you're making decisions. You're watching TV, it's already done for you. It's just up to you to find out. Okay. Now this has 0 instructions. So this is probably like this. Yep. And then this one goes either this way or the other way. So it either goes like this or flip the other way. And it's tapered a little this way, so it's going to be like that. All right, so we're going to put this on here. Let's double check that it goes like that, okay? Okay, tow hook goes on there as well. But I'm very selective on what I play because there's some things that just flat out stress you out. And, you know, a little bit of stress isn't bad, but man, some of these games are so difficult that I swear they're geared towards people that don't have a job, never had one, and live in their mom's basement. So they can be challenged to do something with their life. And the rest of us, like, man, we already go to work. We don't need, that much grinding to do. We're already grinding in real life. Man, these hooks are these clevises that are sticking up. It's just like I'm gonna have to cover that up with mud. It's just crazy. That is just crazy. What an eyesore. What an eyesore. Okay, so that's this one, unless we put a hedgerow cutter on it, which we might do. Yeah, here's one that has the M5A1 turret. But it looks like it's got an early hull on it. So in other words, it looks like that. Probably double check it to it. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to build it that way. I'm going to put this turret on an early hull on the last one. I do the mid hull, but I don't want it to have the I don't want it to have the I can't think what it is. Not the splash guards, the sand skirts on it. Looks better without the sand skirts. Tony, what are you working on? So, well, that's what you typed. I'm working on Stewie's. Got 2 of them done. Third one. Okay, let's grab the last sprue, which is over here. And I could just do a mid one. Is this the mid one? No, this is the late one. All right, so the mid one is, let's do a bit of kit bashing. Very minor kit bashing. Let's take the mid hull, which is the blue one over here, this one. And we're not going to put side skirts on it. So we're going to modify this so it fits on there. Okay, we're going to use this. Shit, I could just buy another pack of these guys. I'm going to have a field day with these things. We're going to build a mid-production one. But then we're going to modify this so that this stuff that's overhanging isn't going to it's not going to have it. Okay, we need the whole bottom, which is common to all of them. But I'm going to have the modern turret on it. I'm going to have the M5A1 final turret, and this one's going to have the hatch open. So we're going to have this here. Which means it goes with this part of the turret. And that is that side. So we need this side for the other one. Okay, we're going to need the protecting thing for the 30 cal. We need the top roof. We need the front of the gun mantlet. We need the gun. Nope. Cut the delicate part off first. And don't cut right up next to it. The 30 cal. The back of the turret. back of the tank itself, which is common to all of them. The toe. The whole machine gun. The front part of the bogey wheel part there. Okay, what back does this one have? This one would have the common piece. So on the mid-production, it doesn't tell you which one to use. Because the red stuff's for this one, the one's for this one. So if you don't use either one of these, what are you left with? Oh, we'll have to do some research into that. Okay. All right. So, whoop. Well, it's a good thing that's bending because that's the part we're going to take off anyways. Okay, so when we assemble this and this, we'll take a look at the running gear and trim back the fenders. You're left with a half-ass tank. There you go. You know, you think the US stuff was standardized, and it was for the great part, but there was a lot of things where they just didn't have certain things. Let's see if I can get a really an attractive vehicle. It's a good looking vehicle. It really, really is. Like a Lee. I think a Lee is really unattractive. Mostly due to that yucky turret. Okay, so the fenders here on the front. It doesn't have these that go all the way down on this one. Okay, so I'm going to cut them off. So now here's the split. And here's the split. Okay, and from there, it's going to go straight down. And it's not grabbing any of this at all. So I'm going to come right across this piece. That's the thing about Plastic Soldier Company. It's really nice. Their plastic isn't brittle at all. It has a lot of, I always call it lubricative properties, but it cuts really easy. Yeah, so that's what we're going to have both of the sides look like. This side. I should have bought two packs. Well, they only had one. They only had one of these anyways. Okay, and we're going to go straight down here. Perfect. And then we'll come across like this. this was part of a little bracket, so we're going to take that off. And take this one off. And take a tiny little bit of sandpaper. And this stuff sands really well too. Perfect. All right. Now, I want to get a picture of, here we go. Here's the back of this vehicle. Of where the fenders go. I think they're just going to go right across here. This one ripped even more off. If something, I'm going to leave them uneven like that on purpose. I'm going to probably do the same thing with my Shermans. I just wanted to get them together. Okay. So we've got this guy right here. Now the weather people are calling for a foot of snow over the next 48 hours. At least I got some snow that fell on me last week. It was just a dusting, but at least we got some snow. You don't leave the house much, do you? Or maybe you do. I know last week I didn't want to be indoors. With them sissies running the heater everywhere. As soon as I stepped outside, I felt great. Felt freaking great. You could breathe. Not them sissies with a heater. You sissy with a heater on. By law, I have to clear my sidewalk, no matter what I have. What if you're like a somebody who's handicapped? By law, clearing your sidewalk. That just sounds dirty. That just sounds like, you need to revolt against that encroachment of your freedoms. You need to clear your sidewalk by law. Okay, asshole, how about you fix all the fucking potholes in the road and then we'll talk. Lead by example, big brother. Big mother brother. It just seems dirty. What if you're on vacation, you're out of town? So you go to Mexico over the summer, and meanwhile you guys get 2 feet of snow. You get fined for not having your sidewalk cleared even though you're not staying in the house? I ain't moving to Pennsylvania. You guys have too much. There's too much bullshit there. Well, homeowners don't own the sidewalk, but must maintain it. I definitely wouldn't want to live somewhere that snowed then. I'm not Mother Nature's little bitch. Although I tell you what, I spent a good amount of time outside last week, and you couldn't even tell you wore the clothes. Because everything still smelled clean. Unlike here, where you step outside to go throw something in the garbage can, you smell like you've been fighting with with a basket full of shrimp. I don't know what it is about, but Florida freaking stinks. Literally. It's not the humidity, because it was over 80% humidity in Canada, which I was very thankful of. I do believe that is the law in states that get snow. It seems odd to you because of where you live. Yeah, I don't like government encroachment. It doesn't matter who's in charge of the government. Just seems like another home. What do you got? A homeowners association. Oh, you got a few weeds in your planter. We're gonna fine you. Okay, if I put a guy in here, is this the same American dude? Yeah, it is. Okay, this is the same American dude. So just because he's a different funky color. Oh, now he's actually slightly different. This one actually fits in there. Let's see what he looks like inside there. Okay, and if I split this hatch, oh, it flips open like that. Or does it flip back? It flips back. That's weird. That's weird. It only has them on one side. All right, let's take this one step at a time. Let's put the 30 cal on. Don't have HOA, would likely tell them to go pound sand. Yeah, well, you can't tell the government to come pound sand. They'll come throw you in jail. All right, and this little machine gun that comes all the way around here. Like the garbage. Today's my garbage day, Friday, right? The garbage mothers didn't come today. I don't know what day they come, but it's gonna stay out there until they freaking show up and pick it up. It's not like it's not on my property. I hate for them to say, "Oh, you can't have your garbage out." Well, fuckers didn't show up on Friday like it was supposed to. I don't know whether they're planning on coming tomorrow, which would be stupid. Like, hey, we'll give you Monday off, 'cause it's a holiday, but you gotta go work on a Saturday. Like, no thanks. I'd rather just like not have the Monday off. Had this old lady in the old neighborhood when we first moved in there. She was such a little Nazi about all kinds of stuff. Like, if they're gonna pick up cardboard, you gotta cut it down into smaller pieces. I'm like, okay, first of all, they're not huge, and if I'm picking up the cardboard, I don't want a bunch of little pieces that I'm gonna have to make a bunch of trips. So I'm doing a lot of work for myself in vain. How about I just leave them like this, and if they pick them up, it's fine, and if they don't, then next time I'll just cut it up for them. And it was never an issue. I don't want to sound entitled, but I'm somebody's customer. I'm not just like, hey, you go into work and you have to cater to your customers at work, and then when you get home, you got to cater to the garbage men too. It's like, I'm not doing anything unreasonable. Okay, so this guy sits over to this side. So I'm gonna split this hatch. Oof, I don't have a backup hatch if this goes sideways. There's no reason why this should go sideways. My neighbor is a garbage man, and he says don't even bother worrying about cardboard, etc. How can the garbage cans not show up on the day they're supposed to collect the trash? That seems it. Well, sometimes they have because they had a day off. It's just going to stay there at the end of my driveway until they come get it. I already took it outside one day on the designated day for them. They can come fucking pick it up. It's just it's one garbage thing for the recycler and one garbage for the regular stuff. And it's not like super full or anything, but at the other house, the garbage day was on a Tuesday. Now it's on a Friday. I remember the scam that they ran here. Oh, I remember cutting myself on something. I cut myself on something. I don't see any blood. Nothing bleeding. Nothing hurts. So this is going to get glued open. And then this one, if I glue this one shut, can this clown still fit in there? All right, let's see if his happy ass still fits in there. I'll be damned it doesn't. All right, let's try cutting a little bit of this base so he fits in there laterally a little bit more. Okay? Because the problem is if you leave it open, there's no detail showing there. Let's do this. Let's do a search for crew positions on a Stewart. Okay. Crew positions on Stewart tank. Crew positions on M5, A1, Stewart tank. Here's a 1/35th scale model. Both of these are open here. Okay. Yeah, it also has a little piece of meat in between both of them that this won't have them if I have them both open. Yeah, like this. There's a little divider between the two hatches. Okay, here they're both open, but the guy's over to one side more than the other. All right, let's try this. Let's see if I can. Oh, no, you freaking don't. Let's get a little tweeze where we can maneuver this thing a little bit easier. So when you do these things, you can't be in a hurry. Like, I got to get this done by tonight. Nope. It'll get done when it gets done, and that's when it's going to get done. All right, let's... Where's Nerd Burglar Rick been? Okay, this one goes over here. So let's push this all the way up against this side. Assuming it'll let me. Okay, perfect. Now, can I get this guy in here? I can. So I'm going to put him in that side and that side hatch flipped over. That's what we're going to do. Perfect. Excellent. And this will be flipped open. And I'm just going to put him right now in there, not glued in, just so it doesn't close on him. I don't want the damn thing to fall off either. Okay, just like that. All right, let's continue our travels on to the other parts that are going to be built on here. Hey, Mr. Marcus. Your garbage day is Wednesday morning. Drop the stuff on the curb Tuesday evening, and then take the cars back Wednesday morning. I normally do it the morning of because I don't want some raccoon knocking shit over. And then next thing you know, on the way to work, I got to pick up trash. Setting out here, 6th War Patrol, April, May 43, leaving Australia for Indochina. I threw him overboard for dereliction of duty. Yeah. I haven't seen him since I flew over his whole stinking state. The thing about snow that's really weird for me is I'm not a snow person. Is I just have this idea that it's a certain way and it isn't that way that I'm used to. I need to think of snow as precipitation, which it is, but I need to think of it as rain. Because when I was flying over, when we left Calgary on the plane, we got there and we arrived in the dark, and you could tell that it was patchy, and certain places had snow and some places didn't. When we left, there was hardly any place that had snow. It had melted. But when we traveled further south, the whole ground was completely covered in white. And it's just weird, somebody who's not used to the snow phenomenon, that somewhere somewhere north of you could not have snow, but somewhere to the south does. And I know those of you guys that are used to it, it makes sense to you, but it doesn't make sense to me because it's still it's still a new concept. But if I just need to think of it like rain, like, okay, well, I could be somewhere north of me and it's raining, and somewhere else it isn't. If it's not raining, it doesn't really matter. You're not going to have that stuff on the ground. But it was weird. There was like hardly any snow on the ground in Calgary. And then when we flew over Kansas and Nebraska, it was all white. So remember, Calgary's even north of all of Montana. So it's just kind of weird. That shit's kind of new to me. And it was probably colder in Kansas than it was where I was. Honestly, it wasn't very cold where we were. If a raccoon can knock over my heavy trash can all the more, well, they're devious fuckers. They don't have anything to do other than, last thing I need is more trouble on a work day. So other than these stupid latches being up when they should be down, idiots. These are pretty nice. Do I have a completed version? I do. I have two completed versions. This is the late version, right out of the box. And this is the early version. And I'm making my own version for the last one. I'm using because there's photographic evidence, I'm using an early hull with a late turret. So it's going to have the later turret here. You bastard. Dereliction of duty. It's a cute little tank. It is a cute freaking little tank. I did not want, there's a lot of examples of them not having these skirts on them. So that's what we're doing. This is a mid one. And I don't know, this one goes you've got this piece on the back. It's supposed to have something on the back here. And the early one is the green, so it's not that one. And the other one is a late one, which is red. So what are you supposed to do if you're building the blue one? It doesn't get any? That doesn't seem right. So we're going to take a look at M5A1 Stewart tank rear. So this one has a bunch of tools on it. And this one has less tools, but it has like the double flap thing on there. Okay. So how common is that double flap thing? Well, here's another one. It doesn't have it. I'm not going to put it on there. So we're going to use the early one with this. Executive decision. You think that all the American stuff is really standardized, but they were a hodgepodge of different things as well. And multiple factories spitting these things out. And honestly, none of this stuff is super critical where it's, has it on there. I was reading something today about the gyro stabilizers. And like all the Shermans had gyro stabilizers except the 105 armed ones. But the problem is earlier in the war, people weren't trained to use them. And so it was really useful for a gyro stabilizer to get that first shot off after it just stopped moving. Well, it's still kind of rocking. Okay. So this one is we're going to attach this to the top here. See if we don't run in. Oh, that's the stupid commander, the dereliction of duty asshole. You don't read them. We don't need them right this second, but here it is. Make an example of them. Fucker! Drop them in this container. He'll end up melting like that guy in RoboCop. I haven't seen that in a long time. I need to watch that again. Didn't old Randy Cox get melted in RoboCop, if I remember correctly? You know Randy Cox, the guy I played in the 80s. He always played the asshole villain. So you know he's going to be an asshole if he's in a movie. Okay. And now we will add the suspension. God, can't wait to paint these cute little bastards. They make all kinds of stowage stuff for these guys, but the hell, the stowage costs more than the tanks. Like, at some point, you got to use your God-given brain and say, you know, that's probably not a good value. Oop. Speaking of dereliction of duty, I didn't trim this. But I am a fan of the American stuff because it's an opportunity of taking something that is potentially generic and boring looking and giving them some personality. More dereliction. It's my favorite one. The one's been kit bashed. Damn, these guys are cute. Huey, Dewey, and Stewie. Seen RoboCop in 20 years. I haven't seen it in a long time. Last time I was on Amtrak. Freight train derailed in front of our train. It was supposed to be a pleasant 5-hour ride from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, turning a 12-hour affair. Oh no, they do share the same lines. I once had to wait 2+ hours for the line to clear from a freight train. Sure aren't Japan, that's for sure. Yeah, these guys are just... You know, I can't say they're sexy because they're too cute. just freaking adorable. I love these little guys. So let me take some other pictures of this thing and see if let's since this is built, how do these guys size with the M8? I mean, it should be the same thing, but you know, it's a different manufacturer. Yeah, the M8's a little bit squattier. The M8 kind of sucks in that there's no underplate, so I'm going to have to make something that's wood underneath here, just to kind of cover it, so that when you look down, you don't see. You don't see this. You put this on a stand, and you don't see the freaking ground through it. You know, it ends up looking like a Flintstone mobile, right? You see dirt underneath the thing. So just, it doesn't have to be something really complicated. Just a piece of cheap styrene or something like that underneath here, just to kind of cover that. And that way we're okay. But these things are beautiful. These things are absolutely beautiful. I said the only gripe is that, you know, you've got these little, you weren't here for this, Marcus, but if you look at the front, just like specifically Soviet vehicles do these a lot. They have these, what's the name for them? Not latches. These, God, I said it multiple times. I don't remember what they're called now, but they've got these, these little U's. These little U things that basically dangle. They're attached at the top and they dangle. So you know, tow hooks and stuff like that. But they're on a swivel like that, where they're molded on there, which I really appreciate it. But if you turn around and look at the ones on the back, you know, these are molded facing down, you know, due to gravity. The ones on the back are molded facing up That guy's going to the gulag. That's why there was prohibition. These guys are molded facing up. So unless you're traveling at a really high speed and they're swinging, yeah, that's wrong. But I'm just going to forget I didn't see them. But hey, it keeps this thing from being perfect, right? Slacker Bob. Fred Flintstone version. Yep, exactly. Okay, so I may just leave the one with the hedgerow clippy thing on there. Oh, this looks good. They put, this is probably from Flames of War. They put the little star on this little deflector thing here. These things are good. These things are going to look great. So I'm going to try to, even though I'm not done with my Soviet trucks, I'm probably going to try and finish these guys up tomorrow. Spray them. They're just too attractive. These guys are just way too attractive. Really good looking vehicles. So, and I almost picked up the honeys. Which I think the honey one, you can make 3 versions, 2 American ones plus the honey one. Let me see that. 1/72 PSC honey. Nope, that's not how you spell that, but I still got the right thing. Okay. Yeah, you can do a early production, a mid production, or a late production. So you could do like one in Guadalcanal. You know, the honey has that distinctive turret opening. Now, unfortunately, there's only one bottom hole. But if I make a copy of that using something, using that other device, I could, you're going to have extra holes. You could make one of them that would have let's see, the turrets aren't the same. Okay, if you use the honey turret, the one that's for a late one doesn't get used. If I could manufacture, but then there's only one turret barrel. You could probably make one of these that's open top. Monty used one of these as a command vehicle. So you could probably get a 4th vehicle out of it. I just hate having all these screws and you don't have any use for them. It just seems really wasteful. The Stewart is lovely. It really is. It's really an attractive vehicle. It really is. It is. There's just no other way around it. It's squat, but it doesn't look stupid. Yeah, and the early versions of it look really cool too. I think it's a really good looking vehicle. It's better looking than a Sherman, Yeah. 3 Stewies. Best light tank of World War II. Well, we're not counting the whatchamacallit. Somebody makes a Tetrarch too. Who is it that makes a Tetrarch? Oh no, it's S Model makes the damn Locust. And Locust is just ugly. Sorry folks, Locust is ugly. I think they used Locust in some operation. I'm guessing here. I don't remember. It's not really my area of expertise. But didn't they use Locust M22s in some operation that they did? They did like a glider operation, like trying to cross the Rhine like early 45, and the locusts were there. You've got that other airborne division that nobody knows who the hell they are. You got the 82nd, the 101st, and you got that other one, whatever the hell it is, 17th or something like that. I think that was the one where the locust got used. I'm just pulling things out of my where, but yeah, I'm going to shut down for the night because I'm going to be back up in the morning. So, but here is the Stewart situation. So really happy with how these guys turned out. Did I finish Sherman's as well? I did. There wasn't much left to do on them. They're complete. Now, I've got customizing to do to them, which means, like one of these will probably be as it was. I didn't do one of the hatches open because what happened is when I flipped this hatch open, there was like no detail on it at all. It was like horrid looking. So these guys will all have the hatch shut, but they all got the 50s up there. And there's some extra, I've got extra bits and stuff to put on the side like I did on my other Shermans. I don't remember what the name of the company was, but I bought them on eBay. And let me show you one of the Sherman ones that I got. And I'll show you what the extra little knickknacks are on there. Yeah, like this one. This is a die cast. This is a die cast Corgi. So this is actually 1/76 scale Sherman. I believe this is M4A3. And I got the little the logs that are just epoxied on there and then bits there on the back. Just to make it look different than the other Corgi. Let's see where the other Corgi is. This one right here. And make sure that, okay, this one has a turret that's removable. Yeah, this one has different bits on the back. I didn't want to super load them down with stuff because then I got to buy a lot of extra stuff. But like this one's got just the regular stars on it. 2 stars there, one in the back. This one has a round one here, one on the turret. Just look at photographic evidence. See what you have. What are the Shermans I got? Here's the 2 different olive greens that I have. This is the browner one, and this is the one that's a little bit more green. So I use them both. I don't know that I have a preference between them. They use both of them. These are the Armor Fast ones, and I bought the sandbags that go with them. This front sandbag section is from them. Here's some more logs that came from that log set. This is the early M4. But these are 1/72 scale, so they're bigger. But hey, I already had these. I'm going to use them, And they're a little undersized, but they're just plain pieces, folks. And then this one's actually, is this a lead figure? I think it is. This is actually this is a War Games Foundry command figure. This is a, what's the name of those? Something of War. I can't remember what the hell it is. This is a die cast thing. It's got rubber tracks, but it's die cast. And this is M4A1. And this one had like the mine roller thing on the front. And I actually had that. That's why I actually did not fill in the holes here, because I can attach the big mine roller on the top of it and put it on a stand. And it can be the mine roller version of this particular tank. So, just to kind of give them some different personality. Where is the other one of these? I have 2 of those. Let's see. Where are you hiding? Or maybe I don't have the other one. I do have the other one, but I lost this mount to this, so I actually need to make one of those. But the set actually came with multiple sandbags for the Armor Fast. I think it came with 4 of them, and all 4 of them are different. In other words, this is all one piece where these sandbags are, including this but this running gear road wheel that's up here. Another one might have a road wheel down here. So all 4 of them are different, just like all the logs are different. So, yeah, it's not. I mean, these are really basic tanks, but they look pretty good. The only thing I haven't done is added nicknames to them. So I probably at some point will do that. just to give them some even more personality. But I like my American stuff because, people think it's drab, and yeah, it is if you don't give them any, if you don't give it any TLC, you know. But if you pay attention to it, it'll reward you. Same thing with the Soviet stuff. Yeah, the German stuff paints itself, you know. But anyways, we'll see you guys in the morning if you're morning people. If not, we'll catch you next time. And as always, thanks for stopping by. See you, folks.